Paintball nerd.
Today's guest on Paintball Nerd started playing paintball in 1984. He is the founder of Team Bushwackers, paintball father and patriarch to many in Southern California. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, paintball legend, Mr. Ron Kilbourne. Hey, Ron.
Good morning.
Man, it looks like you're in quite a cool room there with all the trophies and paintball stuff.
Yeah, little bit of history.
Yeah, I bet. Well, I can't wait to dive into that. Ron, let's start off here and talk about when you started playing paintball in 1984.
Yeah,
What was the game
started
like
play.
back then?
Well, I did an interview with you about a week ago, and I misquoted myself there. The games were 25 man on 25 man, hour and a half long
Oh,
games in the
oh,
woods. In the woods, paint was anywhere from 25 cents to 40 cents a ball. Entry fee was anywhere from $25 to $50. And then you had 12-gram CO2s and all that. And if you shot 100 rounds in a day, that was a lot of paint.
so 100 rounds at, let's say, 50 cents a ball. It's $50.
Yep. If I got out of there under $150 a day, that was a good day.
Why was it so expensive? Why are paintballs so expensive?
Well, it's still oil based in that day, and it was used for actually marking cattle and timber for cut. And so it was coming from Nelson, who made the Nell Spot gun and so forth and so on. And that's why it was so expensive. It wasn't really made for marking other people. and I'm sure that one ranch hand or another turned to each other, went, ha, ha, whack. and thus the game started.
So when did you start playing after the inception of the game? Because I don't recall when it started.
No, I just know that I heard about it one day and I went, I'm going to try that. And then once I tried it, it was like, oh, no way, I got to do this for the rest of my life. This is this is awesome.
It is,
I
man.
used
I
I
mean,
used
it's
I used to hunt, and then I went, no, this is better. This is the game hunting you, and I liked it.
25 on 25, hour and a half. So it's like you
Yeah.
played one game, two games, three
You,
games all
you
day.
maybe three, at the most four, and but it was amazing. I think I crawled like for an hour to get to the flag. I stood up to grab the flag. As I went to grab the flag, center punched, and I'm like, "Oh, this is awesome! I got to do this again." But I crawled for literally an hour trying to get to that flag. I could see it. I'm like, "I got to get that." And as soon as I stood up, some sneaky little, you know what, was sitting there, and whack! I'm like, "Oh man, this is so awesome!"
Was that your first game that you're describing?
Yes, that was my first game. And it was just awesome. And I never stopped since until 2009.
Well, you're still in it, right? You're still in the industry. You're still showing up to events.
I showed up because some friends that are still in the industry or coaching, Daniel Lee and Ken Nunes, they coach the Fems, and they invited me. They were on the team for a while,
I remember.
and when Daniel Lee was playing, a funny story with him. Before he actually joined the team, we were playing at SE Village on the hyperball fields, and he wouldn't come out of his bunker. He wouldn't come out of his bunker because of the fact that everybody was shooting at him. So of course, angry Ron, runs over there and starts yelling at him. And then this massive body comes out from behind the bunker, and I gave him a big hug because I didn't want to get kicked. So that was my story, my first kind of not meeting with him. I've known him for a while, but that was my first. Well, you're going to join the team,
He's a
and
gentle giant, though.
oh
He
yes, he
wouldn't hurt
is.
you.
Yeah, at that point I wasn't sure because we had pummeled him to the ground, and he couldn't come out of his bunker, and I'm pissed, and I'm like, get out. And sure enough, he came out and goes, I'll kill you.
Yeah, I can remember practices with we didn't have refs all the time, and I would remember, guys setting down their guns while they're playing and running down to like pull a player out. It
Yeah,
was
that
SC
yeah.
Village back then was those were some good times, man.
Oh yeah, oh yes. Well, when I first started playing, it was playing paintball, and then somehow it always turned into a fight. I'm like,
Yeah.
why are we doing this? I want to play paintball. I don't want to fight.
So when you founded the Bushwhackers in late '84, I mean, did you have the vision that it was going to become what it became, kind of like this staple in Southern California, or you just wanted to make a paintball team?
I thought this game would end within. It'd be a fad. It wouldn't have stayed around that long. Every year, I'm like, oh, this is the end of it. Oh, this is the end of it. Whether it be because stuff was drying up, meaning sponsorship, or fields were closing, or stores were closing. It always seemed like there was something towards the end or middle of the season that this was going to be the end, and never did. And matter of fact, the last event I just seen you at was amazing. I could not believe how many teams. I could not believe the technology behind everything. I couldn't believe how this sport has went from a bunch of guys running around in the woods with shop goggles on, shooting each other, no face plates, just running around, and to where it is today. It's amazing.
Speaking of the shop goggles, there's this picture that is iconic of you, and it's my favorite picture of you. You're wearing a JT goggle, no lower, just the eye protection, and you got a jerk squeegee in your mouth, and your
Okay,
gun's in pieces.
that was in Toulouse, France, with the All-Star team. It was Bud Orr and Rose from Unique Sporting Goods, and it was a team of all the captains that they sponsored. And we went there, and we were not supposed to win. We were not supposed to even compete because
Of
it was just
course.
it was Bob Long, myself, let's see, Marcus Davis from the UK Predators. It was all the captains they sponsored, and we were just mowing teams. And the promoter came over and goes, "Hey, we were expecting you guys to do that, blah, blah, blah." Well, a funny thing happened right after that. We went and played one team. I don't remember who the team was, and we just destroyed them. It took seconds to beat them. But the flag was in the middle on a triangle. So you had two bases that were really close to each other, but the flag was way out in the middle. And of
Mm.
course, I ran there, dove into the dirt, and crawled through the brush, and grabbed the flag. And I run to the same station we left from, right? And I go, "Can I hang the flag?" And of course, all the other idiots in the other station, Bud Orr, Letts, Marcus Davis, and all them are all saying, "Yeah, hang it." I hang the flag on the wrong base. I come off the field, and the other team is like, "Yeah, thank you, Ron. Wrong way, Ron." And
Oh,
I
man.
never, I never heard the end of it. Like it's still Let's and a couple others. Every time I see them, they say, "Hey, what's up, wrong way?" And I felt like saying, "Well, you guys were all in the other station. You could have said, 'What are you doing? Why are you hanging in the wrong station?'" But I did.
Man, I'm glad the name Wrong Way didn't stick, at
Well,
least for my generation.
right. Well, the other name did stick, and who gave it to me was Todd Addison from Aftershock or the Florida Annihilators back in the day, Doctor Evil, and I call him Doctor Death. But that
Those
that
are
one
those are
stuck.
accurate.
And the other one stuck for a reason, and I agree with it. I was blamed for a
Well
lot of things, and some of the things I did do, some of them I didn't.
well, you've never been known for, not admitting when you do
Well, and
something. Yeah.
well, the funny thing about that, you could argue it all you want and say no, I didn't, and it doesn't matter what you say because they're going to believe that you did it. So it's just easier to end the argument and go, "Yeah, I did it." Now, a good percentage of the time, I did do it, and but that comes back to a kind of a little story. when I shouldn't say first started, when sponsorships started coming involved, and I couldn't afford to play as the paint costs kept on climbing because you're consuming more, and then the
Right.
guns get better and all that. Me and Dave Youngblood were kind of competing for sponsorship, if you want to call it, or notoriety. And he had the good, clean cut, surfer image boy. And I'm 10 to 15 years or somewhere around there older than him. And I'm already ex Marine, a little gruff on the edges. And I went, you know what? I'm going to take that bad boy. And you know what? There's good press and bad press. It's all press.
Yeah.
So you had to make a way of separating yourself from the crowd. Yeah, you could be the best player in the world, but if you don't separate yourself from the crowd somehow, you got to make a name for yourself. And that was my way of making a name for myself. And since I took that bad boy image or gruff or chaos or whatever you want to call it,
Chaos. Yeah.
chaos, and that's one of the first co-captains of my team. He called me chaos, and he would keep me in the flag station back when it was still 25, 30 minutes, 30, 45 minutes. You stay in the flag station and you don't leave until we need chaos. And sure enough, I would come out and just create all kinds of mayhem.
I love
And
that.
and back then it was really hard to control the chaos. With that, I thrived on it. And I'm like, I might as well keep it going. And of course, people will come off. And I have another interesting story. We're in Chicago. I've got an 8-game suspension. Okay, I'm standing on the sidelines. And the 8-game suspension was for the previous tournament in Pittsburgh. Okay, and the
What'd you do
team,
to earn that?
um, Todd Todd Hugo got shot. Todd Hugo and Little John, and we're playing the Iron Kids before they were really dynasty, and we're just destroying. Well, Todd comes off, and he's one of our anchor men on that tape, and I'm like, where the hell did he come from? So I run down there. As soon as I get down there, crack right in the goggles. I'm like, oh man, right? I'm like, I'm gonna take care of that, and I go to take care of it, and from behind me, because we're on the Mounds field, here comes Rocky Canute going, and he's calling me every name in the book. I'm like, yeah, I did it. I never even fired. I never even fired a shot because it was like whack. I wiped it off, and it was like, and I hear chirping in the background. I'm like, I better get out of here. So I get up and walk off.
Wait, was
As I
Rocky
walk,
reffing or he just came, he
no,
saw you
he
cheat?
was he was on another field, and that field had just ended. So they're
Oh my
walking
God.
behind us. They're walking behind us, and sure enough, I didn't look behind me. And go, who's behind me? Oh, whack. And so I walk off. We win the game. Okay. And I had no effect in the game at all because as soon as I got there, it was like whack. But here comes Chuck Hench running at me in the dead box. And he comes over and goes, What did you cheat? And I'm like, yeah, I did. I had no effect in the game. And it blew into this melee of where they couldn't prove I did anything, but they had to do something. So they gave me an 8-game suspension. So
Hmm.
here I am in Chicago. I'm standing on the sidelines. We're playing. I don't remember what team. This player comes running off because Little John just torches this guy. He comes running off and yelling, "That Ron Kilbourne, blah blah blah." And I'm standing with the head ref, and I go, "I think I'm Ron Kilbourne. I really do. I think I'm Ron Kilbourne." And he goes, "No, you're not. That little guy over there is Ron Kilbourne. He's a cheating, blah, 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 blah." And I'm like, man, this story is just getting bigger and bigger. So he's
Oh my
yelling at
God.
me. So I take out my driver's license and I go, there, I'm Ron Kilbourne. Who torched you was Little John, not me. And maybe if you hadn't stayed in the game so long, you wouldn't have got torched. But
Oh
again,
man.
and that's where it kept on building and building and building. So I never argued anymore. Somebody would yell at me and say I cheated, and I went, "Yeah, I did." And whether I did or didn't, it didn't matter. I just let it go because good press, bad press, it was press.
Well, you were also known for not being afraid of taking a little bit of punishment, you know?
If you, I don't know, paintball doesn't. to me, it didn't hurt. Maybe I have a high threshold for pain or whatever, but I also felt if I could run down the middle of the field and take every gun to shoot me, and they would because there's Ron, oh there's Ron, and everyone would shoot me. It would allow players on my team to just go around and mow them. And I'm like, you idiots, you just fell into the trap. I'm like, why? And
Well, I
eventually
also remember practices where you would do that and your team would not capitalize on it and you'd get pissed standing in the center of the field with hits all over you. Like, you idiots. Like, I just turned all the guns. I remember
and
that.
we played in a tournament in Germany. Daniel Lee and Ken were there. Andrea was there. And we're playing in this bunker in the middle of the field is the size of a house. It was huge. And it was off to one side. And we're playing this team, and I'm like, hey guys, I'm going to run to that bunker, go around the bunker. And when I go around the bunker, I'm just going to fall down and cry like a big baby. Okay. And so, sure enough, I go around. I said, when I go around, I not only want them to shoot me, I want you to start pummeling me. And they go, what? Just work with it. Work with it. It'll work. All right. And sure enough, I lay down I get shot. I took that guy with me. I'm laying there. And as I'm laying there, they're pummeling me. The ref jumps on top of me. He goes, your team hates you. I said, yeah, pretty much. But again, the other team that's playing us focused solely on me and forgot about it, and we won the game. Otherwise, that team that we played, and I forget who it was, they would have mowed us off the field. So I said, we got to do something here. Some magic's got to come out, some chaos. So that's what I planned to do, and it worked. But I would say it was a 50-50 chance on whether chaos worked or not. So
Yeah. Well, the chaos mentality, Ron, I don't know if you're aware of this. I hope you are aware of this. It cultivated a style of paintball in Southern California. That kind of go after it, go get it, go take your lumps, make something happen, create chaos. That did create a style of play that is synonymous with Southern California paintball in the early 2000s, late 90s.
yeah, yeah. I didn't know. I don't think I had anything. I think it was just the style of paintball in Southern California. Yeah,
Well, Ron, you had a lot of teams. You were in SC Village every weekend, so I think that you certainly had a lot to do with that style. I mean, you can just look at there's players today that started under you that are considered legends today.
yeah, yeah,
Mike Paxson,
yep.
one of them.
You got John Richardson, Jeremy. These players don't play anymore, but there's quite a few.
Yeah,
And
but
and,
everyone knows John Richardson and Jeremy Somm, of course,
yeah, and part of it is that you're in Mecca, Southern California, and I didn't always. I had a job outside of paintball, so I couldn't focus on building more sponsorship or so forth and so on.
Hmm.
So, but I was always competing with the Ironmen who had Die or JT as a sponsor, and then Dynasty and so forth. And there's so many teams in Southern California that players would jump from one team to the other, whoever got the best deal or whoever they felt comfortable with.
True. Yeah.
And to be honest, is that again, I'm gruff around the edges, and my style of teaching players was you either do it or I'm going to force you to do it. And or go find another team. And I lost, I would say, a huge percentage of players that were phenomenal, that turned out to be phenomenal players because maybe I didn't give them a chance, or
Hmm.
I didn't coach them in the direction they needed to be coached.
I do remember that you always took really good care of your players. You'd show up with your trailer that had a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of Zap paint in it. You were always super loyal to your sponsors. In the era of paintball when electronic guns started becoming more prevalent and kind of people were making the switch from automags and autocockers to electric guns, the Bushwhackers stayed with war games. And if you wanted to try out for the Bushwhackers, you better know how to shoot an autococker, right? Because you were loyal to your sponsors.
Yeah. And I stayed with him as long as I could because of the fact that I love Bud. I love what he gave to the team, and I love the gun. For me, I got used to that gun, and that with that, the arc of the shot and all that, I was pretty accurate. And with that, I stayed with him as long as I could, but I couldn't compete with the other teams when it came to electronic guns anymore. And so
Yeah.
I eventually had to change. And Eclipse offered me a very good sponsorship, and I known Les for a long time. And Jacko and Jack and the rest of them, I knew them for a long time, and they offered me something. And if I hadn't taken that, my team would have been done long before that.
Hmm.
And there's nothing against the marker because now the marker is now again resurging in the Woodsball and so forth and so on. And yeah, that's my favorite, gun to use. Is very accurate.
War Games started to try and catch up a little bit with the rate of fire. They came out with the hinge frame, for
Mm-hmm.
their autococker, and then eventually there's like the electronic frames that they had on there. And it's funny that autocockers have kind of come back as this kind of like nostalgic workhorse of a gun, and they charge a lot of money for them. Like a nice autococker's back up to $1,500.
Yeah,
So
I
it's kind
couldn't.
of interesting.
I couldn't imagine. I walked around all the vendors and all that, and it was just amazing how much everything costs. But you want the best. That's what you got to do. You got to pay for it. And and
Yeah.
the other thing I notice is the coaching in the pits. What a change in everything, because I was the coach, the pit boss, the player, you name it, and I couldn't focus on just one thing because there was always another problem coming up, whether it be on the field, off the field, a player, a sponsor, whatever. It was really hard to focus on one particular thing. I am glad it became now a true sport where you have true owners, that's an owner, and then you have true sponsors that are sponsors, and you have people in the pits that just fix guns and people that pod and all that. It's like this is a true sport now. When I came from, it was like I said, a bunch of guys in the woods, and you did everything. So,
Yeah.
and
But
going back on that though, there is some good parts of being everything. So,
sure.
but go
But what
ahead.
do you think of the I mean, Ron, you've played every single format. You've played 25 on 25, 15 on 15, 10 on 10. You've played 7-man, you've played 5-man, you've played Xball.
Hmm.
And I think that what we have today as far as the pit crews and everything like that is a necessity for Xball. It may not
Yes.
have been, in the other formats. But anyway, my question to you, Ron, is what format do you feel like forges the best type of player?
Forge is the best type of player. I think it's a mix. I think that the new players that come in and play X ball format, they're missing some of the talents or the nuances that you get from playing woods ball. And me and Dave were talking, but Dave Youngblood, we're talking about it. We're sitting back, we're watching a practice at Las Vegas against two of the pro teams, and we're both pretty much at the same time say, "Don't they hear the gun shift? They
I remember
don't
talking
hear the.
about that. Yeah.
We don't hear the guns. They don't. They don't listen to the gun shift." Now, I'm not talking about the high end pro players. I'm talking about the average players that rail the guns and don't leave a little lead time to let that guy come out. Let that
Yeah.
guy shift his gun. Let that guy move. You want to bait them a little bit. Let's bait them into moving. Force and like Paxton and me would play, and Mike, push him in. Push him in, I'm going to go get him. Or Mike, let him out. If he comes out, I can rail him. Okay. And some of that is missing. And I think if you play Woodsball, it comes back to where you don't know where the guy's at. So you have to sit
Yeah.
there and listen. And when you sit there and listen, you go, oh, there's leaves breaking. Oh, there's branches breaking. Oh, there's a gun over there. And that's missing. And I think if you take the players from Xball and you go, okay, we're going to practice today, but we're going to go in the woods. Okay. And we're going to go there and we're going to stop. Stop what you're doing. Where's everybody at? And I used to do this in practices. Okay, guys, stop. We stop the practice and I go, how many players are left on the field? And I would say 90% of the time or better, they would not be able to tell me which bunkers they were in, how many players were left. And that's key. It's key when you play. You need to know who's left on the field and where they're at. Otherwise, you end up in overtime points, and it's like, oh, now it's a draw. It's like, okay, well, are we going to end up 1-on-1s? And now it's okay, who shoots who?
Well, it's funny because the players that there are, believe it or not, there's pro players in the league today that are considered veteran pros that have actually never stepped foot on a Woodsball field. And you put them in that environment and they hate it. They hate Woodsball. They don't know where the bodies are at. They don't know where the paintballs are coming from. It's super uncomfortable.
We went to 2 tournaments back to back in Florida with a week or 2 in between. Daniel Lee and Ken were there. I don't remember what year it was, but we stopped at a field in the middle and we played Woodsball, and they were all lost. And I'm like, what's your problem, guys?
Ken was
And
really?
well, they didn't grow up truly in Woodsball, where I grew up and played, I would say, a good percentage of my time in Woodsball, where I
Yeah.
would I would wait for them to shift their guns or whatever and just walk up and I'd stand there, whack. Where'd you come from? I walked right here. You weren't even listening to me.
Yeah,
So,
it's like it. I started playing paintball in the woods, and part of my upbringing was Ken Nunes, and
okay.
we played at Camp Pendleton on a team called Sitting Ducks, which was a Pan Am team,
Yep.
5-man, and so I figured that he'd be pretty at home in the woods,
Well,
but
when I mean woods, I mean thick woods where
yeah,
you could be standing 2 trees apart, 10 feet apart, and not even know the other guy is there. And that's where we're at. We're in Palm Meadows in Florida, and I'm like, I'm in my environment now. And these guys, and at this point in time, when you got me on a airball field, it was like, oh, you own me, because they would just rail the guns and I'd never be able to come out. And now I'm here in this woods ball field. I'm like, now I own you.
Oh my gosh, Ron, you know what I see a lot of, even in pro players today? It drives me crazy. Is players shoot and they shoot like their bunker 5 or 6 times before they come out.
Why?
Do you ever see this?
Why? Why? Why?
Well,
Why?
because I don't know if they don't have
It,
the angle right or if they're trying to get their stream out, but you broadcast where you're exactly where you're about to come out because you're spraying the side of your bunker.
yep.
So do you ever see that? It drives me
Uh,
crazy.
that and I understand the theory behind that, but I watched a lot of players, and it's a nervous twitch. They rail their
Hmm.
fingers. They're not really shooting their guns. They're twitching their fingers the whole time, anticipating when they're going to come out.
Yeah,
And and not only that, when they shoot, if you're shooting at the guy, why are you shooting his bunker? Shoot the edge of the
shoot the
bunker.
edge.
Why are you shooting? Unless you're trying to keep him in. If you're trying to keep him in, yep, that's what you're going to do. But the whole idea is to catch him at his edge of his goggle or his foot or his hopper or his gun. So just send it by the edge of his bunker. I'm watching these guys shoot the center mass of a bunker. I'm like, unless you're trying to keep him in, you're just wasting paint. I'm like,
Yeah,
because you're doing nothing.
and a good player will absorb that pressure too. Like, oh, you're just shooting my bunker. You're shooting the center of my bunker. They'll come out and engage with you. Like a good
Right.
player is not gonna go in because you're shooting the center of their bunker. So there's a lot of things, right? There's ancient secret knowledge that you get from playing paintball, how it was originally formatted. I think.
Well, I changed a few of the rules, or I should say, the rules changed because of me.
Exactly.
Uh,
Yeah. What are those
oh,
rules?
one of those was I used to bounce it off the nets. So
Oh,
if you
that
were in
did
a back
change.
bunker and I was a back bunker, I would scoot the edge of the bunker, I mean, the edge of the net to try to rail you and try to get you on that way. And I had a ref come over, you can't do that. And I said, show me in the rule book where it says I can't do that. And until you can show me in the rule book, it's not a rule. It's your rule. It's not a rule. And there was a few other rules that I got changed. One of the ones I really hated is the 10-second count. Not in Xball because you have a true beep, beep, beep down to the end.
Yeah.
But the 10-second countdown when it was still in the woods or in airball and hyperball is that you have this 10-second countdown, and I still believe it affects the game. Is that I don't think it should be a 10-second. I think it should be anywhere in that 10 seconds. That the because you have players, and I watched it a lot at this last tournament, where players leave because they hear the beep, 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 and the horn on the next field goes off, and they left.
Yeah.
That's not fair. That's not fair to either team. So, and some nuances, maybe they should have a beep in this field and a horn in that field, and say,
For
"Hey
sure.
guys, on this field, it's a horn to start the game. On that field is a beep." Okay, because those fields are so close together. And I used to anticipate the launch of the 10-second countdown, and I would watch the head ref on that field because he'd have his arm up in the air, and I watch his body language. And we were playing the Naughty Dogs, and I watched that ref for like 6 games. And every time he would go 10 seconds, and before the actual second would go, he would throw his arm down. He would lean back and throw his arm down. So I would time it, and I was a millisecond, maybe a second and a half ahead of everyone else. And Rocky Canute went bananas, but they couldn't
Again.
do any. They couldn't do anything about it because I was in that little where they're like, "Well, his arm went down." Yeah, well, the whistle didn't go off yet. So
So what is
again,
it? The arm or the whistle?
right. And I said, that's what I said. I said, the arm of the whistle. I watched his arm. Well, his arm went down before the whistle. I'm sorry.
I want to make a shirt with your face on it that says "Play the Gray." What are your thoughts?
Oh, when you do a thing around the room, I've got one. I don't know if you knew that there was a website called IHateRonKilbourne.com.
No, I didn't. That's awesome though.
Okay. One of the players on my team, he had it and he asked, "Can I do this?" And I said, "Well, what are you going to do it for?" He said, "Well, I'm going to make shirts and sell them." I said, "Sure, go ahead." And he goes, "Do you want anything?" I said, "I want one shirt. Just give me one shirt." And I don't know how long the website was up, but it it went for a while. So, and it was I hate ronkilbourne.com. I know it doesn't exist anymore.
That's a good one. But it's hating you in an endearing way.
Yeah, well, the reason he hated me because I fined him for practice. Because
Oh.
if you showed up late, there was a fine. And he goes, "I got in a car wreck." I don't care why. I said, "You're late." I said, "Maybe you shouldn't have gotten in a car wreck." And he goes, "Oh, I hate you." And I said, "You should use that." And then, sure enough, like 3 weeks later, he comes back. He goes, "I'm using it, and I'm going to
Who
pay
who
for it."
was this? Was this
Oh
Gary?
God. Oh no. Gomez. I think no, it wasn't Gomez. It was one of the middle teams, and he's proud. If he watches you, he'll respond. He'll go, "It
I
was
hope he does.
me."
Well, Ron, you've got a ton of memories over the past almost 40 years playing paintball. Do you have one that's just like a stick out memory for you? Like this memory is just like your fondest memory in paintball, or maybe a couple.
A couple. Okay, the one was I played for a team. I've guessed on quite a few teams. When I couldn't afford to take the team to a tournament, I would go play with another team. Aftershock, Wild Geese, Rocky Mountain Rangers. I played with quite a few other teams when we just didn't have the money to go. So I would go to stay out there, to be visible. And one of the teams I played for was called the Mob, and it was an East Coast team. And I get there, and I'm like, so, and all these players are coming up to me. You're playing for the Mob? You know that's the Mob. I'm like, what are you talking about? And you're crazy. And they're the nicest guys. And I played with him, and the guy's name was Kevin Weeks. And I don't know if you know this, but Kevin Weeks was Whitey Bulger's enforcer. Whitey
Hmm.
Bulger was South Boston's mob. And Whitey and Kevin Weeks actually went into jail and then went basically informed on the mob.
Wow.
And and I and all this was news to me until years later because I'm like, oh yeah, bullshit, bullshit. And years later, Kevin Weeks shows up in 2006, and we're at Gillette Stadium. And I'm standing there watching the guys play. And as the team's playing, he walks up, and I go, Kevin, what's up, dude? And he explains this whole story to me. And I'm like, yeah, you're full of crap. And he goes, here's my book. And I'm like, holy crap, there's a book. He wrote a book about it. And I said, do I have to worry? He goes, no, they're watching me. And I said, well, who's watching you? He goes, everyone. I said, well, who do you mean everyone? Well, the FBI and the mob.
Jeez.
I said, should I be worried standing next to you? And he goes, nah. And I'm like, yeah, you're starting to scare the crap out of me, dude. But that just funny, weird, just weird that he came out of nowhere. And like I said, I didn't believe it for years. And then years later, when he shows up, I'm like, really?
It's dude. Okay, so that's one of the many pleasures of paintball, or I should say the paintball community, is we have these characters from all different walks of life, and we just happen to share this commonality that we love this silly game. But you got business people, you got enforcers for the mob,
Yeah, yeah.
and you got people that work for the city of Huntington Beach.
I had it.
We got it all.
I've I've had I've had everything from doctors to lawyers to everything on my team, mechanics, you name it. I've had it on the team. Another funny story is Jerry Braun, one of my favorite people in paintball. Just he was. I know a lot of people have this on him, but I love him. He's amazing. But we're playing in Dallas, and I'm pretty sure we're playing the Terminators, Pete Bowfield's team. And I'm crawling through this long grass. I don't know what type of grass it was, but I'm crawling and I'm crawling and I'm crawling. And Jerry Braun's like inches from me, and I can hear over the walkie-talkies, "We got Ron from here." I'm like, Jerry, get away from me! I'm crawling up because I'm going to crawl up to this bunker and shoot this guy. And this is still when it was still mechanical guns. And I'm going to shoot this guy, and I'm crawling. And it took me a good 15 minutes to get there. But the whole time, he's bird dogging me all the way there. And sure enough, I get to there. And just as I get there, the kid hears the radio. And he goes, "We've got Ron. We know where he's at. Jerry, get away from him." He says Jerry, comes over, and this is before faceplates, and plows me right in the lips. And I went home on the plane with a lip the size of a grapefruit. And I'm like, "Thanks, Jerry." And he goes, "Oh, you know I owed you." I'm like, "Yeah, probably. Probably." And then
How
another
many
one,
times been
Rennick.
shot in the mouth?
It was called the $10,000 bounce. If you didn't have the faceplate on, you could take a hit in the face and it would bounce a huge percentage of time bounce off. Okay.
Ugh,
And
so it hurts
yeah,
more.
yeah, again, I think I have a higher threshold of pain than most people. Yeah, I would just take it and go, oh, whatever. But another one, Rennick Miller. This is in Chicago,
Of
and
course.
Gary Noblet's reffing the Chicago Aftershocks reffing, and again we're playing the Terminators, and I'm actually in a bunker with a plywood and a pallet with a bunch of brush stuck in it. And I noticed if I could lean against the plywood, I would force the plywood out enough from the pallet that I could get a shot on the guys laying in front of me. So I would whack and I take one, whack and I take another, whack and I take another. And Gary radios to Rennick, "Hey Rennick, Ronnie's doing something. I don't know if it's legal or not. And I go, what am I doing, Gary? And he goes, stop pushing that bunker. I said, there's nothing in the rules says I can't do that. And sure enough, Rennick comes over and goes, if you do that again, I'm pulling you. So the next game, I'm on another field, and he follows me again, just like Jerry Brown. But this time he stands on top of me. So I'm crawling through this nothing, through vegetation of nothing. I'm crawling. And I'm like, I can't breathe, dude. You got to get off me. I can't breathe. And he goes, well, we'll see. And eventually I get shot because here's Rennick moving without moving his feet. And the guy looks down and goes, holy shit. Whack. I'm like,
When he said he was standing on you, I thought he was just like standing over, but he was literally standing on your body.
he was literally standing on me. And you can ask him. He stood on top of me. I don't know how long it was. It was long enough that I lost breath. And not only did I lose breath, that the guy finally realized this guy isn't moving his legs. How is he moving? So
Rennick's
this,
not a little guy either. It's a heavy dude standing on you.
yeah. That was it. That team. I was before they became Aftershock. They were the Lords of Discipline, and they would wear short sleeve or no sleeve shirts and grease their arms and all that. And if they didn't beat you on the field, they beat you off the field. And that was kind of their motto. And I can't tell you how many times I ended up in a trash can folded in half. It's like we're playing in Dallas, another one we're playing in Dallas, and we're playing Rennick Miller's team. And I can hear Gary, Ronnie's over here, Ronnie's over there, Ronnie's over here. And I'm like, And eventually chaos happened. I came through, and this time chaos worked. I ran through, they all pummeled me. They not only knew me, I played on their team, and they used me as chaos. I ran through their line. They're all pummeling me. Sure enough, my guys come around back, take the flag, and run it back. Whole melee breaks loose. They're saying, Ronnie should be penalized. And the refs are like, we don't know what to do here. Everyone off the field. And we hang the flag. And then I ended up in a trash can shortly after that.
I remember shooting you used to be like a little bit of a trophy. Not a trophy, but like
Yeah.
if you were if you were running through the field, even if you were shot, you just put a couple extra on Ron because he's running through the middle of the field and it's fun to shoot Ron Kilbourne. And
Yeah.
you would
Yeah.
just take it. You would just take the shots and be standing there like this, like what's going on, and causing all this chaos in the middle of the field, and just people were just shooting you. So I
Yeah.
remember I remember it being a fun thing to shoot you.
And to be honest, it was like, okay, guys, you're not watching the game.
Exactly.
And again, coming back to your original statement, is that I would be so mad after the game. Is like, thank you for letting me take all these hits and you guys not maximizing on it. What were you
Yeah.
doing? Well, we didn't know what was going on. That's the whole idea.
How did it feel like kind of being that guy that people like to shoot? Well,
At
it's press,
times,
right?
again, yeah, good press, bad press. It was also at times it's like, okay, some games it was like, oh my God, all the way to the dead box. It
Yeah.
was like, and I'd walk off with, I'm not kidding, somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 hits on me. And I'm like, I just stepped out of my bunker and the dead box is right there. Would every gun shoot me?
Yeah, but you
Yeah,
never like really ducked or flinched. You just kind of you just kind of took him, you know? Oh man.
I was refing. Greg Pauly can tell you what tournament it was. It was SC. It was not at SC. It was at Hollywood Park, and I was refing. And the team Ironmen were playing. I don't know who it was against, but they were playing, and I had bonus balled one of the Ironmen years before, somewhere back east. And he goes, "I'm going to get you back," and I'm refing. I'm not playing, and I never took so many hits in my life because not only did he pummel me, but the whole Ironman team pummeled me. And it was funny, one of the players on the opposing team wiped a goggle hit. And I watched it and I went, oh no, not on my field. And I run over there, pull him out. As I go to pull him out, he decides he's going to pummel me too. So as I'm getting pummeled by the Ironman, I'm getting pummeled by him. And then
Oh
I'm
man.
pulling out JC, I'm pulling out all these players from that team that he just wiped the goggle, because not only did he wipe the goggle hit, he's pummeling me. Oh, no, I'm pulling your whole damn team. So I just pulled his whole team. And while I'm doing this, I'm still getting pummeled by the Ironman. And while that's happening, they're not aiming for like, body shots. They're aiming for
Soft
neck,
spots.
neck and knuckles. And I've never been so bloody in my life. I'm like, okay, are we even now? And he goes, yeah, but you still didn't flinch. I said, I don't flinch, dude.
Oh man. Classic Ron.
I
Do
got
you have
stories.
a
Go ahead.
well, if you had another story, I want to hear it. But what I was going to ask is, over the years, like, do you have a player who was your favorite person to play with?
There's so many. I'm going to say Mike Paxton. And the reason Mike Paxton is we would play, and I get a twitch in my leg. I would actually, when I felt it was time to go, one leg would go forward, the other leg would start twitching. And Mike knew right when the time was, it's time for you to go, Ron. And I would go, and sometimes I would create all kinds of havoc and win the game with the team's help.
Yeah.
But sometimes he would just shove me out of the bunker. I'd be with him in the same bunker, and he goes, "Time to go." I'm like, "Holy crap, dude! There's a lot of people shooting at us. Where am I going to go?" And we were somewhere in Texas, and he shoved me out of the bunker. I don't know how I survived. I went through and dove into a bunker, made it up, and he's looking at me, and he goes, "Is that you, Ron?" Yeah. He goes, "How did you make it there?" I don't know, dude. But let's go get him. And
So he knew how to play off your chaos.
yes. And then Ken became my next Paxton, if you want to call it,
Yeah.
because he would be my next anchor man.
Mm.
And funny story, he got a lot of grief because his body frame is a lot like mine. His size was a lot by, and we wore pretty much the same gear. So a lot of times they would go, "Ron, Ron, Ron," and he would go, "I'm not Ron." And I remember in Miami, the head ref is just screaming at him, "Ron, Ron, Ron," and he's ignoring it because it's not Ron. And I walk up and go, "What are you talking about?" "Oh, you're right here. I needed to talk to you." "Oh, why are you trying to talk to me on the field?" "I don't know. I just wanted to talk to you."
I grew up playing with Ken Nunes on the Sitting Ducks before I could even drive. He would drive me to the paintball field for practice, and yeah, he helped me out a lot in the beginning of my career. Ken Nunes Jr. He had a brother too, and a guy that played with him on the Sitting Ducks. They didn't stick with it like he did.
Yeah, his brother was a good player.
Yeah, Eric.
He was a very, very good player.
Yep, he could
So
shoot an autococker well too.
yes, yes, I remember.
Who do you think is the greatest player of all time?
There's so many different styles. You can't. I don't think you can put it into one little category. I can give you players that I think are good today and players that are good in the past, because
Yeah, give me
it's
an give me an era. Like, give me a 10-man or OG 10-man era, give me a 7-man era,
okay.
and today's format era.
Dave Youngblood, probably one of the best quarterbacks, along with Bob Long, one of the best quarterbacks. Because when you're in the woods, you had to have a guy floating from one side to the other, from one side to the other, to read the field and to find out where the hole is. And
Mm,
Dave would find the hole. And Bob was a very good manager, team coach, and he would find the right players to put out there. Then you get a little bit farther in it. You got Gary Noblet, probably one of the best back players there is out there. And then we go on today's players, and I think Malloy from the Russians is probably the best overall player. for Xball style paintball. I don't know
Yeah.
how he would fare. I don't know how he would fare in the woods, but
Sure.
that's not today's game anyway. And
Right.
then you got Tyler Harmon, I think, is a very good player. Billy Bonaccia. You got Colt Roberts, to name a few that are just amazing players. If I had to build a team, that would probably be my team right there.
Hmm.
Overall, and then get you know coaches and stuff. Rich Telford as a coach, and put them together. I think you'd have a really good team. And the other player I'd put on that team would be Ollie, because
Yeah.
he's another chaos player.
Yep.
And as they call it nowadays, they don't call it chaos; they call it send it.
Yeah, they
And
do.
and
Full
and
send.
and Ollie's thing is send it, send it, send it.
Yeah.
And I agree with it. When you don't know what's going on, send it. If you know where the hole is in the middle of the field, send it.
Yeah.
And what
Go
I
for it.
watched and what I watched in Vegas is like, I don't know why players, and I think they figured it out towards the end, why they weren't using the middle of that field. That middle of the field was chaos, and you could just destroy teams going up. If you know how to play that center of the field, you could have just destroyed teams. And they
Yeah.
didn't. They'd send out to those snakes and send out to those snakes, and everybody knew you were going there. And towards
Yeah.
the end of the tournaments, I seen some teams. Okay, now they're starting to get it. But as soon as I looked at the field, I'm like, go up the center, dude. If you're
You
small
need
and
that kind
fat,
of player, though. That mentality of the guy that wants to go up there and send it.
yeah, and I agree. And I would say a huge percentage of the players, they may go up the center, but they don't know how to send it. And
Yeah.
Ollie and Malloy, they know how to send it. They know how to get there, survive, wait for the game to develop, and as it develops, just sit there for a minute. Let the game mature. Let the game develop. Find out where everybody is. Again, back to the Woodsball thing. Listen, where is everybody at? Where is that gun focused at? Okay, I can now send it through the middle of the field. This guy's pointing left, that guy's pointing right. I'm going to be able to get two or three of them, or more or less, but I'm going to create chaos and break
Yep.
open the game.
That's how it's done.
Yep.
Ron, the room that you're sitting in, I'm very curious about all the things that you have in there. Are you able
Okay.
to take this camera that you have and show
Yep.
us a few things?
Yep.
Really?
And I'll try to be as steady as I can.
What's that photo? Who's in that photo up there?
Oh, the photo is an old team. We were playing in Vegas. And this is when I was sponsored by Unique War Games and JT. And Marty Tripes was like my first sponsor. Marty Tripes was with JT. He used to be a motocross rider. And this is before Youngblood got involved with JT and so forth.
Gotcha.
But anyways, you got John Richardson, Jeremy Soms, Mark Knopp. Oh God, I can't remember most of the other guys' names. I'm sorry. There's so many players that went through my team. I just don't remember everyone's name.
Almost everyone in Southern California.
Yeah, and this team was eventually I ended up with Washington Rain and
Mm.
Bushwhackers. And I don't know if you know it, but I had teams from pretty much all over the country. I had Bushwhackers Shockwave, which was Richmond, Italia, and the Mossad brothers. And that was a team I had. And here's the trophies from Canada.
Wow.
So, and then I
What's
had
that jersey? That orange jersey that's framed.
that one was not my last jersey, but pretty close to the last jersey.
Cool.
Yeah, I think 2006, seven, maybe eight. But I had teams based out of Texas. I had teams based out of, well, Bushwhackers Terminators. That was Todd Hugo's team. And he
Is that
eventually
a
ended up,
Carter pump gun right there?
yes, it is.
Is a comp or a buzzer?
Yep. Uh,
It's a comp.
uh, Comp. Okay. You know better than me. Yeah, the 12 grams screwed off, and you can put a tank on it. You could take the top off and put a direct feed on it.
Those things are sweet.
And there's one of not one of my first, but one of my first cockers. Not my first,
Yeah.
but one of them.
Right hand
And,
feed.
yep, and that's pretty much it.
Whoa.
And there's the evil man himself.
Looks like you're in like a safe, like a
Kind of,
steel door.
kind of. I don't. I shoot real guns now
Yeah.
because I'm too old and too slow to play anymore. Maybe a Woodsball game here or there.
Ron,
But
please come out and play a 10-man mechanical. Love
when's
it.
the next one?
Love it. The next one is in Dallas on actually the next one is in here in Tennessee uh on April 13th and 14th
Wow, wow.
coming up.
And is it a big game or is it 10 man?
10-man mechanical.
10 man. Okay.
Yeah. So they're going to have mounds, they're going to have woods, they will have a hyperball field as well, but it's a
And
great time.
when you say mechanical, I've seen some manufacturers now have taken their electronic guns and put mechanical triggers on it. Is that correct in saying that?
It is correct. It's it's barely mechanical. It's more pneumatic than anything.
Okay.
So like when I think about maybe when you think about mechanical, you think about dropping a sear, something like that. But so the mechanical guns these days are just you're just moving a valve back and forth. It's
Okay.
just they're incredibly fast.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, when I hear mechanical, I'm thinking 12 gram pump action. That's what I'm thinking. Mechanical,
No,
or the autococker. When it was not when it was just the pump gun like I have here.
you can use an autococker. People still use autocockers in the mechanical leagues, but the new mechanical guns they shoot so fast that it's hard to shoot anything else.
Yeah,
Really, you know.
I was hearing some of the guys say that they can actually shoot the mechanical guns faster than they can shoot the electronic guns because the electronic guns are capped, where
Yeah,
the mechanicals are not capped.
100%.
So
Yeah, I'm one of those people. I can shoot a mechanical gun faster than the 10.5 balls a second
yeah,
mandate that the NXL has.
little funny story on that is that the first time I used electronic gun, Daniel says, "Get it to ramp," and I'm like,
What does that mean?
what does that mean? And I'm trying to, and he goes, "Ron, you're just not doing it right." I'm like, "That's as fast as I can go." And then, sure enough, we went out on the field, and I came off with a grin from ear to ear. And he goes, "What?" And Daniel, "What?" And I said, I got it to ramp, dude.
It ramped
Awesome.
on me.
I just needed adrenaline.
Yeah, you need to shoot it faster than like 5 balls a second or so, and then it catches up to you.
I was never that guy. And everyone kept on saying, we need to go to electronic. I'm like, I'm fine shooting 3 or 4 balls a second.
Yeah.
Why don't you guys just hit what you're aiming at, dude?
Yeah. Aim. That's one of the things and one of the reasons that shooting the edge of your bunker bugs just annoys me. When I was on the Ironman, Marty Bush came and helped us out, and he taught me how to aim a paintball gun. And he's like, you don't just come out and shoot a stream of paintballs. Come out, in fast motion, come out, take a breath, look where your paintball is going to go, then fire that gun and get that paintball on exactly
Yep.
where you want it to go. And you don't need more than one ball, but go ahead and shoot a couple extra anyways. But make
Yep.
sure that first ball connects.
Yep.
And
And,
and I
and
thought
that,
it's just like we don't think that. A lot of players don't think that way these days.
no, no. And it's hard to teach someone that. And you should, like running to the corners. I watch all these players, and I'm surprised watching all these games in Vegas how many people do not know how to lane. It's like, why are you aiming for at the bunker? He's going to either overslide that bunker or he's going to dive before the bunker. Okay.
Yeah.
You should be on the breakout, leaning right before the bunker. Okay. And as soon as you see that body, your gun shifts over to the other side of the bunker to try to catch him over sliding. And I just watch
Exactly.
people like, what are you aiming at? And I couldn't believe how many people did not take blind shots on that field in Vegas. There were so many blind shots. Now there's a curse with blind shots because if you shoot a blind shot at a guy, he can also shoot that blind shot back at you. And John Richardson did it to me in Tampa because I went, okay, I'm going to shoot this guy, and I'm in a bunker. There's no protection at all. So, but I know if I can blind shot that guy, I can jump to my next bunker. Well, I shoot him, but he knew the blind shot was coming. So I blind shot him. He shot me back, and I'm like, damn. And I
You
walked
see?
off. And I walked off, and I went, okay, which one of it was the guy? And he goes, it was me. And I said, oh, I knew it because I showed you that crap years ago. And he goes, and I knew you would go there, Ron, and I knew you'd fire that blind shot. And I knew I'd get you. I'm like, son of a gun. My own tricks got me.
Well, see, with the blind shot, you got to communicate with a teammate to make sure the blind shot will land. Otherwise, you give away the blind shot, and then it comes right back in on you.
Exactly.
So, so Ron, out of all the stuff there in your room, all the awesome stuff, is there anything that you got rid of that you
Oh,
wish you would have kept?
so many things I wish I would have kept. And it was funny because 2020, I think, was Las Vegas, correct? 2020. Okay.
2020.
Okay. With that, I had people coming up to me with old jerseys that I had and old guns that I had, and I gave away pretty much everything when I quit. And I quit because 90% of the reason I quit was because of the fact that I had changed jobs at the city, and I knew my old job because I'd worked there for 20 years. I didn't need to really concentrate on anything. I'd show up and it was just going through the motions because I knew my job. But I
Hmm.
changed jobs in 2008, I think it was. And when I changed jobs, I was told, look, you have to be present. And I said, what do you mean by that? You're a very good employee, very good manager, but you need to be here so that taking off on Wednesday, Thursday, coming back on Monday where you're not really here. I'm like, yeah, that's me. So I had to basically quit because my job had changed. But
Hmm.
with that, but with that, I gave away everything. I mean, literally everything. I got knickknacks, but nothing that a couple guys came up to me in this last tournament going, "Look what I got," and I'm like, "Oh, I'd love to buy that from you. Oh, I gave it to you for nothing. Could you give it back to me for nothing?"
Yeah.
And I went, "Oh, no, 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 no. This is a collector's item." Dang.
I mean, if you had the stuff today, it would draw a high dollar, because like I said,
Uh,
you've impacted a lot of people in paintball, so I mean, your stuff is valuable, Ron.
yeah. I would just wish I had it because like piece of time,
Yeah.
and if I had that piece of time back again. But you can't go back, so I'll just live with it now.
Well, you got all the treasures in your heart and in your mind, so,
Yeah, and I,
memories.
and I cannot thank enough so many people in paintball, uh, sponsors, players, team managers, team owners. They're just so many awesome people in paintball. It's unbelievable. Uh, you can't you can't get that adrenaline mix of playing a sport and that camaraderie of all the different backgrounds and
Yeah.
nationalities and religions and all of it to just get along with everybody. It's amazing to watch all these different people get along with each other, have a fight, if you want to call it, on the field. And 10 seconds after the game's over, I love you, buddy. I love you. And I really
It's the
do. I love
best.
it. I know. And I've played many other sports, and there's nothing that comes close to paintball. Nothing.
Ron, how would you like to be remembered in paintball?
Ah, as whatever they feel. I, I just wish I wasn't hated. I
You're
and I
not.
mean, I mean, some people would come up to me and go, "Oh, I hated you," but do you hate me now? You know, I know Rich Telford. We were running around in a Modesto, I think it was, and I shot him a few games. I don't know if it was a big game or whatever, but I remember he chased me around and I'd shoot him and he came we came off the field and he tried to muscle me down. I'm like, what's the deal? He goes, "Oh, I hate you." I'm like, yeah, well, I get that.
Well,
But
the hate that people are describing is really you were beloved. You are beloved.
I hope so. I hope so. And like I said, there's so many players, Wes Wong, Fridge, you name it.
They
John,
were out there. They were out there
yeah,
this past weekend in Vegas.
yeah. So many people I hadn't seen in 10, 15, 20 years. John Dresser, geez, you name it, I seen him there. The only people I
Hmm.
didn't see and who I went to really go see was Let's and Jacko. And I guess they showed up sometime Sunday, but I was already on my way home at that point. So sorry I missed you guys.
Oh man, Ron, thank you so much for your time here, your stories. Is there anything that you'd like to part with for the paintball family?
Say, keep on doing it, guys. It's a blast if you and don't. Life is too short. Treasure it and keep on playing. Okay, to my friends out there, especially the guys and girls that invited me down this a couple weeks ago to Vegas. I'd like to thank Ken Nunes and Daniel Lee and Andrea Lee. I'd like to thank them
Hmm.
so much. They invited me down. I didn't know if I was going to go, but it brought back fond memories, and I got to see a lot of people that I just enjoyed, and hopefully they enjoyed me.
I did.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.